High stakes on the clay court with Micro Mortal Tennis. It's Amigos, episode 363. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Micro Mortal Tennis.
Okay.
You know, Aaron, they call me Hadouken because I'm downright fierce.
They don't call you that, do they?
No one's ever called me
Unless
that
that's
before.
Japanese for a geek. Then I believe it. Did you play much sport tennis in your life?
I didn't start playing tennis until I married my wife, and she was a tennis champion in Thailand.
Holy smokes, I didn't know that. Does she take you to
yeah.
school out in the court?
She takes me to school all the time.
Yeah.
And we'll play and she'll beat me down 2 or 3 games in a row. And then she'll get out her serving machine and she'll hit about 200 backhands and 200 forehands while I lay bleeding in the corner.
Yeah.
So.
We haven't talked about it for a while. I think I've mentioned the show a couple times. It's been a while, but I was on the tennis team back in high school. I was a big tennis fan back in the day. I used to watch tennis. Even thinking about that now, it baffles me. The thing that I set, because I can't sit through a tennis match now to save my life. I don't care who's playing. But there was a time where I was a big fan of tennis and somehow made the tennis team. And I was my hose was my doubles partner.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
It's a shame that there are no photos of this because I would love to see you and hose out there.
There shouldn't be any photos of what that was. Old shotgun hose. What he lacked in accuracy made up for in fierce power. He would Hadouken that ball into my back so many times. He hit me in the back with those serves. Whenever we won serve and Hose was up to serve, man, that was the scariest time. And every once in a while, he'd pull a Jim Cornette and just come railing in and just hit me right upside the head or in the leg with a tennis racket. I'll never forget that. He was a madman. But I was like an undercarder on the tennis team. Like I was the guy, but occasionally I could squeak out a win, but it was always through chicanery.
Now, do you remember who your big rivals were? Of course, Vincent was the rival band. Who was the rival tennis team?
I'll be honest with you. Calling them my rivals would be doing them a disservice. I could befuddle and confuse people. I was a guy named Joe Allen. I had a couple wins over him, and he was really good, and I couldn't believe it. My old buddy Rich, I'd beat him. I used to beat Hose. I've beat almost everyone on the team at some point, but it was something I could. And usually, I would come out of these matches. It looked like I'd been in a cage match. I never left the court without blood all over me and scars because I was too slow to be a proper tennis player, so I had to throw the racket between both hands and dive for stuff and come in on my knees.
Did you ever think that at times you hadn't put forth enough effort, so beneath the tennis bracelet you slid out the blade and gave yourself a little color?
Listen, I didn't need the gig, buddy. I was getting natural juice out there. I'm telling you, every part of you that could bleed on a tennis court, I bled from it, and some parts I don't even want to go into that I bled from it. It was bad times. Eventually, I just gave up playing because I was like, well, the season ended. I'm like, I'm done with this. When me and Hose had a doubles match against some guys we went to church with, and these guys were super rich guys, and we were us, and we were killing them. Like we were up 2 sets, we were up 2 game, with 2 rounds to nothing. I forget how to even keep scoring tennis. That's how stupid I am. And then they came back in the third set, and we were out of gas, and they smoked us in 3 straight. And at the end, Hose was so tired, and Hose is a real sweaty, hairy guy. I mean, this dude, I kid you not, there were pools of sweat. I think it was sweat underneath him. At the end of these, we were done, and that's when I knew. It's like, listen, there's a certain type of person that plays tennis, and I am not that guy. So,
do you still have your letter?
I do. I still have my letter. I still have.
You still have
all
your
my
Letterman
letters.
jacket.
I never got a jacket, but I've got 2 or 3 letters.
You don't have a Letterman jacket with a letter in front you got for football and track?
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't
when
real
you
proud.
cruise
I didn't
around
play
the
football.
other parts of the town, you got the decal in back?
I didn't play football. I did play in the band.
Be true to your school.
No, I hated my school, and the school didn't like me. So screw them. And if Micro Mortal Tennis was a thing back then, I would have killed a lot of suckers. No line judges, because, by the way, no one had a judge when we played. You just had to sort of keep score yourself. I don't know if that was the way for everybody. But I never played where there was a guy actually judging my matches.
I think things have changed in high school tennis since then. I think they've got judges
I'd
now.
say you're right. I'd say you're right. And listen, before we move on, I want to talk about the show last week. I watched the show. I was on vacation last week.
Yeah, tell us about your vacation.
Well, I'll have to get into that later. I'll get into that in the later show. But I want to talk about the way the show went last week. I was very I was gratified to see that you just kicked the show off with no reference to me being gone in any way. You just rolled right through. So anyone that didn't know where I was, because I haven't missed the show, I don't think I've ever missed an Amigos, and I missed one other show I think ever. So, but I was gratified that you made up for that by mentioning me several hundred times throughout the rest of the episode by calling Britt my name over and over. And every time you did it, and I looked at Britt's face, I felt real good. So I will say I was quite pleased by that, Boat. But I thought you guys did a good job last week.
It's funny because I totally meant, of course, my plan was to lead off the show with talking about your absence.
Oh yeah,
I was so nervous to do the show without you because there was you've only missed one Amigos in history.
Is that
only one?
You mean counting besides last week? What was the other one I missed? What did I miss?
Dune 2. You were not around for the Dune 2 episode. I think you might have been ill. I don't know. You might have just decided. You might have just said.
I thought I did Dune 2. I know I did the research for it.
You can go back and watch me do it by myself.
Well, I mean, I must have fallen out at the last minute or something. I did remember researching it.
You were ill, and I definitely had. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember exactly the circumstance, but you were sick. It was one of those times because when you get sick, you really get sick.
I think you can count the shows. And you keep in mind that we've probably done between all the shows, we've done over 1,000 shows. I would say. Wouldn't you? I mean, at least somewhere in the ballpark. And I think I've missed a total of maybe 3 shows. Maybe 4.
You don't miss often.
That's because I'm too stupid to feel pain, Boot.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that. All right. How do I follow that up?
This is what happens when we get back together. The smooth delivery is back, brother. Get this thing out of here, Boot. Move it along.
Let's talk about this week's Amiga news.
We don't edit nothing. I can tell you that right now. Get it going, Boatster.
All right, Aaron. It's been a pretty good news week this week.
All right.
We're going to start out with a story. This says now the things have become confused on the. Okay, make sure. Never mind. All right. So,
wow.
We're going to start
verbal nunchucks. It's whirling those suckers.
Reddit confused and confounded me, but I figured out how to work it. So, this first story doesn't really have anything to do directly with the Amiga, but it is a story that lots of Amiga fans will be interested to hear. After nearly 30 years, the programmer of Elite Dangerous of the Elite Dangerous Elite Planet Coaster, David Braben, is stepping down. He is stepping down as CEO of Frontier Developments. Now, of course, in the Amiga world, we got Elite 2. Did we get Elite 1 on the Amiga? I can't remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's just come back to me. So, Braben is a huge name. Him and Ian Bell got together to create the first Elite, and then I think there was some sort of a falling out. And Braben went on to bigger and bigger things. And, probably most famously, the whole Elite Dangerous crowdfunding campaign, the delivery of Elite Dangerous, and the continual development of Elite Dangerous. So he is definitely a huge figure in the world of open world games. For a lot of people, Elite was that introduction to a game where you could do anything, and it really felt like you were existing in a world. So, props to Braben, and we wish him a good retirement.
Did you, in the article, does it state exactly why he's stepping down? He is retiring? I saw that he's staying on in some capacity, but is he basically just slowing down?
I think that he just wants to step away from the business side of things, and the day-to-day sort of grind, and just basically maybe he wants to be more of an advisor, in that sort of a capacity.
Elite Dangerous is one of those games. Its popularity sort of sneaks up on you. because it's not like something I hear about all the time. But I know a lot of people really, really love that game. And I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it's done pretty well, and they've kept it going. So I mean, all you have to say it was an unbridled success.
Well, I'll
But
tell you this, there's not a lot going on Frontier Developments. I don't know what else they're doing besides Elite Dangerous. I guess they're still doing Planet Coaster.
yeah,
They made $140 million last year. So yeah, Elite's still doing pretty good.
that's great. I'm happy to hear it. And I know people that love that sort of game are happy that that the beat goes on.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Aaron. Our next story. This was posted in the on our Discord. This is a podcast, and it's called Bad Parenting. Okay, or no, I'm sorry. It's called Parenting Hell. I take it back. Parenting Hell.
Okay.
This is a British show, and the object of the show was talk about women that you fancied back in when you were in your pre-adolescent years. You say from about the time you were 10 to when you were 12. So Aaron, now that we're on the subject, who were sort of your crushes when you were in that time period?
When I was 10 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez, man. I had to, because it's funny. I would say, hmm. Did you? I mean, you name some of yours. Give me a second. I'll have to think of a couple chicks that I was into because I mean that was a long time ago for me. Not so long for you.
Let's see. Well, there was definitely Punky Brewster, had a big thing for her.
You're kidding me.
Oh no, why not?
Punky
She was cute.
Brewster.
Yeah.
She looked like a. She didn't look that great. I didn't think.
Listen,
She
you were in your
she was
20s.
a child.
You were in your late 20s, Aaron. That you've got to remember that we're 10 years apart.
I know, but even if I was a little kid, I mean, why her? She looked like I don't know, she looked like a male Tom or female Tom Sawyer is what she looked like, or like a doctor.
I don't know if we need to go down the road of comparing the women that we find attractive.
Or Doctor
Maybe
Who,
this could end,
like
this could
no,
end
I'm
so
not
well.
saying that, but I mean, listen, you've got to admit when you think beauty pageant kids, Punky Brewster is not one that would leap to most people's mind. What was there a personality, something that drew you to her, or the way she talked? Well,
I thought she was cute.
no, fair enough. Then yeah,
Maybe I should stop.
I'm baffled by it. I really am baffled by that. I didn't expect that. Who else? Give me another one.
Let's see. There was definitely Gadget from Rescue Rangers.
The cartoon
Cute mouse. Yep.
A cartoon mouse.
Yep.
What I can see how Punky Brewster would look great when you're competing with a cartoon mouse.
And there was one other one that I was before you violently attacked my taste in women.
I'm not attacking your taste in women. I'm just listen. Different strokes, different folks, pal. But I just
all right.
So
give me yours. Give me yours.
Someone mentioned Samantha Fox in there. She would have been up in there.
You were looking at Samantha Fox related things when you were 10 to 12 years old.
Oh God, yes, of course.
Okay, well, we obviously had very different childhoods.
Oh yeah. There were no cartoon chicks. So I'm gonna maybe the hot warrior chick from Heavy Metal. If I was gonna go into cartoons,
we've got very different.
How about the Daphne from Dragon's Lair? Get her in the mix, or Kimberly. I'm okay with either one of them. So there you go. There's a couple. What did this guy say? He can't stun me more than you have.
Did not come to my mind, and that is Zoos. Aaron, are you familiar with Zoos?
Surely not the imitation ant. That's not who he's talking about.
That's right. Zoos, the female Zool.
Are you kidding me?
He had a thing for. That's right. That's right. Now, if you look at Zoos, your sort of Middle Eastern countries come to mind because she is totally clothed except for her eyes. She's wearing some sort of ant-related burqa.
She's a ninja chick. The ant.
Yeah.
Sort of ant.
Yeah.
That is
weird.
Listen, your crush on the cartoon rat doesn't seem so weird after hearing that. Congratulations. He found someone to justify it.
There is a link in the Amiga News subreddit to timestamped link to where they're talking about this in the show. It's definitely worth listening to. The whole exchange is quite humorous.
You can skip.
So make sure you check that out.
If you're listening on the radio, 25 minutes in around that area. They're getting some weird stories this week, but what else you got?
All right, next is there is a port of a C64 game called L'Abbey de Mort, which I
Oh,
think means like the dead abbey or the abbey of death. This is a platformer that was a big hit on the C64. It actually was the Indie Retro News C64 Game of the Year in
oh,
2019. If you get this loaded up on the old Indie Retro News, you can see that this is a pretty sharp-looking side-scrolling platform game. And there is an Amiga version that is in the works. It's being redrawn with 16 colors using the Scorpion engine. It is currently in development, but you should definitely check out the preview. This is one that looks right up my alley. I'm really looking forward to it. This is another sort of Addams Family-esque game where all the rooms are named. Oh yeah, I forgot, not on the Amiga version, but in the real versions of the game they are. I am super looking forward to L'Abbey de Mort. I will check this out.
I know I've seen someone play this on the
Hmm.
C64. Perhaps it was Black or Frodo, somebody I've seen play this. This does look nice. I mean, it does look exactly like your kind of game. There's no doubt about
Now,
that.
the this is being brought to the Amiga, Aaron. You know it's good because it's being brought to the Amiga by a guy named Ultra Narwhal.
Holy smokes. What a name. Yeah, sounds good. Ultra anything, they're awesome.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Next up, oh, Pippi Longstocking. That was the other girl. That was the other
Actually, she
girl
looks a
I had a
lot like
crush
Punky
on.
Brewster. You
Yeah,
talking about the
probably so.
storybook.
I'm talking about the storybook. Well, there was a movie. There was a
Do,
movie that came out in the
do
80s.
you recall the
Pip,
famous bit about the movie that always strikes me? It's funny. I'm pretty sure I got this right.
no.
There was at the time, back this would have been back in the 70s. The football wasn't as big a deal as it is now, and there was a football game on. I can't recall the teams, but it was a lopsided game, and so they cut the end of the game to start Pippi Longstockings
Oh,
on
no.
time.
It's Heidi. You're
Oh,
thinking of
you're
the
right.
Heidi.
It
That's the
was
Heidi
Heidi.
incident.
It was
Yeah.
Heidi. You're right, right. But you've heard of the story then.
Yeah, it's a true story.
Do you
And
recall
that
the
they
game or on top of your head? Because
well,
I remember it was one of the biggest comebacks at the time.
I think it was a Jets game, and I think
It,
it was Joe Namath was quarterback.
I
It was
think
like
you
one
might
his
be
biggest
right.
comeback of all
I
time.
think
Yeah.
you might be right. Good job. Good save, Boat.
I'll tell you else is full of good saves, and that's our friend Chris Edwards.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is what may be the final in his series of videos about this Amiga 3000 tower. He is transplanting a 3640 into this beast in an effort to get it to work. Now, Aaron, did you check this?
I have
Have you
not.
had a chance to watch this
I've
one?
not seen this one. Actually I missed this one in the feed. I went on to the next one, but this. So how does it go with this bow? How did it end up turning out?
It pretty much fixes, from what I can tell, it pretty much fixes the problems. What I like about this 3000T,
Good
I you
lord!
know, is that it's got the old lock on it. They need to bring back the key lock on the computer tower.
Look at that. That thing is so big it needs a front door lock. That is the biggest. The Chud had. I've mentioned this before. He had this case called the Eliminator class, and it looked like a Borg ship that you put on your desk. It was this big
Mhm.
square thing. And this thing is one of the few machines I've seen that actually exceeds it in height, not in width. But I mean, that is one tall computer. See,
Yeah,
back in the 90s, you needed computers this size. I mean, you
yeah.
had to have, because that's how it was like having a real nice car for geeks. Big,
Right,
tall,
right.
beefy sucker. But looking at that thing now, think about that computer I've got out in the arcade hooked to the back of that monitor that we use at remote events and the power it has, and compare it to this thing. I mean, the power supply of this is bigger than a whole computer. It's a massive,
Mhm.
massive unit there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see that Chris is doing it the way you do it. He's got isopropyl alcohol set right beside his actual alcohol. And let me tell you something. Make sure you grab the right bottle when you take a swig. Trust me
Oh
on
my
this one.
gosh,
Yeah.
you'll know right
Yeah.
away. Yeah.
You got that
So,
right.
congratulations to Chris on fixing another successful repair.
Oh yeah. He gets it done.
And our final bit of news this week, Aaron, is that the 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, Doug is back, and he is here to tell you that you're wrong.
Oh, I
Because
know.
you may be thinking the CD TV, it's just an Amiga that they put, a fancy case in,
Uh-huh.
and it kind of sucks. It
Uh-huh.
turns out that's wrong. The CD TV is
Yeah.
actually the best thing that's ever been created
Yeah.
in the history of the world.
Listen, let me tell you something. Doug not only is he drinking the Kool-Aid, but he's serving it up, brother. Because I know one said hardware-wise it was the same, but effectively, it's basically the same power as your maybe a 500 plus, something like that. It's got the ECS on there. Listen, no one's bad-mouthing the thing. I want one. The second I watched this video, I was on eBay nosing around. You know what I'm saying? Because they're so cool looking.
They look awesome.
The problem is, my excitement wasn't shared by the millions of other people that looked at this thing and kept on walking, brother. We did a story this week on ARG on this thing called the Nuon. And the Nuon and this are the Nuon, I would say, sold more than this. And the
I was
going to
say the Nuon probably outsold the CD32 by a factor of 10.
Well,
that gives you an idea of the power of the CD.
That's true, but I will say this: I would guarantee you that the CD moved more games than the Nuon because no one knew the Nuon machines would play games. That's the problem.
Right. They carefully hid its gaming capabilities.
I want to point out a few things. So number one, do you see that lunchbox sitting back there? I had one of those lunchboxes. Oh yeah, that's because I was around when they started migrating from metal to plastic, you know, and I always felt like I sort of had a dud with the plastic, but the plastic ones were bigger. You got more room in there. But yeah, anything that had Atari stuff
either. So
well, I mean, as a kid, who cares? You not to mention when you whack a dude with one, they break. The metal ones, you could beat the crap out of a sucker. I watched this video. Doug got a heck of a deal. I like the fact that Doug disclosed everything, how he got the machine, what he did to fix it. Because he could have, Doug has attempted repairs in the past. Didn't go so good.
No.
This time, he got lucky, got this sucker, and it was a freaking fuse, and popped it out, and it came right up, and he was in business. I was like, man, the first thing I would do is get this thing completely recapped. I wouldn't screw around. I also give him credit for fixing the remote, which that was an interesting story. That might help somebody out. And, I mean, listen, these are great-looking systems, the CDTV. I've got nothing. I'm so happy he got one, and I'm pleased that it works. I think they're great. And you could put modern stuff in these now and really soup them up, which he's going to do. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future on these things. I think they're dandy, but much like these things are a lot like the CD32. At the time, they were not that great, not well received. And then as they've gotten older, they've gotten more popular. But yeah, this is a great video from the Doug.
Yeah, I learned a lot about sort of the marketing failures, it's in hindsight, it's one of those things where I could see where they were going because they didn't want this put in the section of the department store with the computers. They wanted this to be put in the section of the store with the hi-fi units. They didn't want the Amiga name even on this thing.
Yeah.
But that led to other difficulties.
I will say, if you'll give me one moment here, and because you're younger and you may or may not remember this, but there was a time, and Doug mentioned it because he's older like me. There was a time where these set-top boxes were like, was going to be the next big deal. The big deal. I don't just mean stuff like the CDI. I mean, everyone that didn't have one of these things was coming up with something. You know what I'm saying? Because this was going to be the thing. Because CDs allowed so much information on these discs that people were scrambling to come up with them. It's very similar to the web TV situation that happened back in the day when the internet became more of a big deal, and they were scrambling to have these set-top boxes with internet on it, and the same thing happened. They never caught on, and they didn't do anything. Microsoft invested tons of money trying to get that over. It just didn't happen. People didn't want to use the internet in that way, and that's the way these little entertainment things were. I think DVD players really sort of paved the way to have sort of a desktop box. Now it's a little easier to get that thing over when you've got an Xbox or even a PS2, who took the sort of the Nuon route reverse. They were like, this is an awesome game machine. Oh, by the way, it can play DVDs. Well, that's what people wanted because DVD players were expensive. You could get it over that way, but you've got to appeal to the right people at the right time to get these set-top type boxes over. And this one just didn't have the jack, or it was too expensive to get over with certain people. And that's just the way it goes. But I mean, I have no doubt it was well engineered. I like the array of ports. I'd forgotten that the thing had MIDI, which is interesting. And I think they did good engineering here. I just think they outpriced themselves. I think the people that would have bought this, they didn't try to appeal to them. That probably hurt it a little bit. So there are various reasons why something like this would go down. But I mean, name me the set-top box of the 90s or the late 80s that succeeded. I mean, they all really failed. I mean, CDI didn't get any traction either, lost a ton of money. So it was just a tough market to crack, and no one really got it.
Yeah. Did you ever have web TV, or did you ever know anybody that had web TV?
We sold, believe it or not, when I was at the computer store, and this was, keep in mind that I worked at the computer store in the 2000s and the late
Mhm.
90s. We were still selling these little boxes that would let old people check their mail and their TV and stuff, or little things that have built-in screens that would do that stuff. So I know I knew people that had them. I've actually fooled with them. But when you're used to driving, when you're used to a computer, it's like jumping out of a Ferrari and getting inside a little red wagon. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it just
Speaking of
doesn't do it.
which, I sat in the driver's seat of a Ferrari today.
Holy smokes! How'd you pull
Yeah.
that off?
Well, Eep got in a minor car accident on the day before she was set to leave for Thailand.
Yeah,
She was in our neighborhood. It was a low speed sort of scrape situation.
yeah,
And so I took her car down to Kevin's Auto Body there on Main Street to get an estimate, to turn into the insurance.
yeah.
And so we started talking, and I was like, so yeah, you got a Ferrari? And he's like, yeah. And so we were talking about that, and I was like, before I left, I was like, man, you gotta let me sit in your Ferrari. He's like, all right. And so I went out there and I sat in his Ferrari, and he was showing me all the stuff. And I was like, all right. And he's like, now let me show you how it goes. And so we traded places. He started it up, and it's like, vroom! It made a real loud engine sound because it was a Ferrari. But
Yeah.
let me tell you something, man. The interior of these things, it's like you're sitting in the most comfortable leather recliner that you ever sat in your life. They got
Yeah.
that Alcantara leather. Man, it was awesome.
How spacey or lack thereof was it inside that
Well,
thing?
you don't want to sit in the back seat. I can tell you that right now. There
Yeah.
is a back seat, but this particular edition, he said, was a touring model, so it was supposedly more comfortable than a normal Ferrari. But yeah, it wasn't the most comfortable car I've ever sat in, but the feel of the interior, like when you just touch everything, everything is like soft leather. So yeah, it was awesome. It's probably the only time I'll ever sit in a Ferrari. So since you brought that up, I thought I'd bring it up.
You know, Speaking of Ferraris, Boat, we happen to be associated with a man who I would refer to as the Ferrari of repair.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
man is our good friend, Bam. It's Frank, Boat. And the Ferrari of repair takes place at RetroRewind.ca. Tell him what's going on up there, Boat.
So, Retro Rewind is basically a one-stop shop for anything that you might need regarding Commodore computers or Tandy Color computers. They do everything from offering full repair services to recap services to an entire suite of parts, including recap kits and other materials that you can use to repair your computer. They also offer you diagnostic tools, diagnostic carts that you can use to figure out what's going on with your computer if you want to try and fix it yourself. But that's not all. That's not all. If you are a newbie in the retro computing scene, you need to stop fooling around with floppy disks, even Gotex. All that stuff is passe. What you need in your life is a flash storage solution.
Mm-hmm.
And you can pick one of these things up for either your Amiga or your Tandy Coco over at Retro Rewind. You can upgrade your hardware, your Kickstart ROMs. You can upgrade your software. He's got OS 3.2. You really need to check this place out because, like I said, whatever you need, he's got, and he's got it cheaper than almost anybody else, especially if you're here in the States or if you're here in North America, but even in Europe. The with the way that the currencies are fluctuating right now, the euro and the dollar are pretty much in sync. And so you might be surprised on how cheap it can be, even with shipping, to order from Retro Rewind.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, being in North America, it's cheaper shipping if you're here and also quicker shipping. Frank gets it in, gets it done. We saw it firsthand at Boat Fest. Frank's not a guy that we just happen to shill for. He's our good buddy, and he's all man when it comes to repairing. He's been doing it for a long, long time.
Yeah. So, if you decide to go over to RetroRewind.ca and place an order of any amount, make sure that you use the promo code Amigos10 at checkout. Save yourself 10% off this or any order. We appreciate Frank, and we thank the fine folks at Retro Rewind for sponsoring Amigos, everything Amiga. All right, Aaron, let's dive into some Micro Mortal Tennis.
Wow. Pretty good, Boat. Pretty good there. What do you think about this one? You ever played it before? I know you have, right? Because we played this one live, as you'll
We
recall.
played this, I believe, in Amigathon one year. We played
We
some Micro
did.
Mortal Tennis.
You know what sends a shiver through my spine, Boat, is when I start to research a game, and amongst the first things that comes up is something we did. That's never because
That
I'm like,
happens
uh-oh.
quite often.
It does.
That happens
It
quite
happens
often.
more than it used to. Yeah, we actually played this. I think it was hour 11 of Amigathon 2019 or something like that. I know me and Brent hosted the intro for it. So let's get into it here, Boatster. The bizarrely named Micro, spelled with a K for some reason, Mortal Tennis. I guess because it's Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Yeah, see, I got it now. Finally, I just
Good
thought that
work.
I thought it was some kind of European thing for the
You're
longest
you're
time.
real Sherlock Holmes figuring
Thank
that one
you.
out.
Elementary. Released in '96. Now, a little birdie told me that this was released in the home country over there in '96, but everywhere else on Earth, it didn't get released until '98 or '99. Excuse me. So this was a real late release, and I'm assuming from the lack of finding any of these things for sale that these are double rare. This was published worldwide by Epic Marketing. Very clever name. They were
Anytime you've got marketing in your company name, that's not a good harbinger of your product.
believe it or not, we've actually taken a look at Epic Marketing published game Zombie Apocalypse. Remember that? We played that. Some of the other stuff they did I think it was like 20 some games on the Amiga. They did the Amiga Classics series 1 and 2. It's spelled with an X, Boat. You can do the math. They did a game called Eat the Whistle. That series, whatever.
Okay.
It got me.
Okay.
Mobile Warfare was another one of theirs. And the developer of this was an outfit called Skywards. They had a cool opening where it just said, unfurl the wings of your mind, or something like that was their little
I like
tagline when the
that.
game comes
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
This is a 1 or 2 player joint, and supports a couple languages, English, Italian, and Spanish. Everyone that worked on this, well, you would think they never worked on anything else because that's what I found, but I actually can sort of clarify it a little bit, but I'll go through the participants. Coded, I'm going to butcher these, of course. Coded by David Mencusi and Marco Pacifico, and graphics by Enrico Zerbo, Marco Pacifico, and Sergio Rocco. Music by Alex Acione, and game design by Stefano Galane. Pretty good. I didn't do
Pretty
too bad
good.
on those, Boat. Now, it's
Yeah.
funny, I looked into this game because the wiki and a couple places have a link to a web page that was ran by Marco Pacifico. By the way, awesome name on the Marco there. Now, this page had been dead for 1,000 years. I think it went down to like 2007, but thanks to our good buddies over at Wayback Machine, yeah, I did a little dirt digging. According to Marco Pacifico, he's a programmer that developed a lot of video games, including, he says here he did Micro Mortal Tennis and a game called Powerball that came out in '97. He also did Tony Tough and the Night of the Roasted Moths for the PC in '99. But get this, Boat. He also did some other stuff. He did Gym Smashes for the GBA. He did Street Jam basketball for the GBA. So that's not too bad.
Well, I think a lot of these companies that sort of went under in the PlayStation era had a resurgence when the GBA came out, because all of a sudden it was within the realm of possibility for a small team, based out of somewhere small in Europe, to actually put out a product again. The GBA kind of reset the expectations on what a small team could do.
I wonder how big an outfit you had to have a cartridge made for because he did another game here, Rumble the Mad Match for the Game Boy Color. How big a deal do you think you had to be to actually get something cooking on an actual cartridge-based system like the GBA or the Game Boy Color?
I think it's all about just shopping out your game to a publisher, and if you can find a publisher that'll check it out. And here's another thing, about how how much shovelware there was on these handheld systems, so the bar for quality wasn't exactly high. I think that anything that looked half decent, and I'm not saying that this guy's games were shovelware. I'm just saying that the bar was probably low for getting a GBA or a Game Boy game made.
Yeah, I would say you're probably correct. Now, of course, I should mention that this game was these fellas all lived in Italy, and so again, this did get a release in Italy a couple years earlier. We've actually played some decent stuff out of Italy. I believe those the guys that did that really good fighting game,
Yeah, Fighting
Fighting
Spirits.
Spirits, were Italian, and I think
Hmm.
that same outfit were the ones that worked on that really good PC fighting game that I like too. So there was
One
some
Must Fall.
one no not One Must Fall, the stupid one with Cthulhu. The name escapes me.
Hmm.
Anyways, this game was also coded in Amos, another one, and so there's that. So let's get into this opening mode of this game. This thing has a long, I want to say almost legendary opening because me and you talked last night. We found more videos of the opening of this game than we did any of the actual gameplay footage, didn't we both?
Yes, that's true.
Do-
That's true.
So, do you want to try to summarize this? I mean, we've got a good idea. Give them the Cliff Notes version of what happens in this opening.
So you are you're awakened. The scene is set. This it's drawn in a cartoonish style. And you play as sort of a minion of Satan, I guess, that's living in like a trailer park, and you get a call from the big man, and he says, "You need to come over here." Okay. By the way, your name is Farts, because that's
That's what I
hilarious.
was waiting for. I
Yeah,
bet that's funnier in a foreign language.
yeah.
You know,
I don't know because the LGR still thinks it's funny, so maybe I'm just not in that
yeah,
demographic.
maybe you're right. You're too classy, Bo. That's your problem.
I am. That's true. So what you do is you go over to Satan and you hear him talk, and you're like, and Satan's like, "Well, we need to figure out a way to run a tennis tournament." And that's the story.
Well, no, they've got to compete in a tennis tournament. Not they don't have to run
Yeah.
it, and he's got to go
Yeah.
manage a guy in a tournament. And the reason is Satan wants this key lost back that opens up dimensional gateways. The this I mean this thing runs for probably 8 minutes. I mean
Yeah,
it's
it is
long,
incredibly
and it's
long.
not. Someone somewhere thought this was awesome because it got shared so
You know
much.
what this reminds me of?
I don't.
This reminds me of, remember when the Brent released that series of podcasts that he made a long time ago?
No, no. Pod.
Remember it was where he was telling the story.
You mean the one
This is
with
what
the calendar?
Yeah,
Well, that
yeah,
was one
that
big
thing.
long thing. This,
Okay,
so you're
that this
burying the
reminds
bread here, is what you're
well,
saying.
I'm just saying that's what this reminded me of.
I thought that was sort of clever, but yeah, this was okay. I mean, we've seen far worse in terms of openings. The art in this is pretty good in parts, but it really went on, and I'm sure maybe some of the hilarity was lost in the
Well,
translation.
and there's also like he goes to the guy. There's a guy from Day of the Tentacle that comes out that
Yeah,
lives outside Satan's house,
yeah, he
and
does a
so that's sort of
cameo.
a cameo.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's one thing we can't stress enough is it's long. So it probably goes 10 minutes, and then getting to the game itself takes you another couple minutes to get there. So you're sitting there for 10 minutes, and this is without loading. Think of how long that intro would have taken if you'd sat there through the loading screens. You'd been there
oh
for
my gosh,
forever.
and
So
yeah.
this is a fancy way of saying, listen, I'm going to bury this game. I'm sorry.
Well, wait a minute, wait a minute. Don't think that after you're done with the cutscene, you're ready to play. Because guess what? You're not.
No,
Because then you've got to sit through the credits.
yeah, and you
And then
can't
you've got to
skip
set,
them.
yeah, and then you've got to set through the studio splash screen.
Yeah,
Then you got to set through the Micro Mortal Tennis screen.
yeah.
Then you got to pick your mode.
That's a
Then
right.
you got to pick your
I'm
guy.
looking at the
Then you got to
timer. It's
watch
10
the thing
minutes.
come down. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the longest intro that I can remember for any game that we've ever played.
It's long. It takes forever to get there. But I mean, listen, someone put a lot of work into it, and I guess so. There you go. I guess you're gonna watch it. Once you finally get to the select screen, you've got your choices between you can play a single match, you can play a tournament match, you can start a season where you play a saved season of matches. You could also do options, and you could also pick your language and whatnot. Now, This game, I made a note of this because one of the options is to pick the type of a tennis match you want, singles or doubles or practice, and the type of surface between clay and grass and hard surface. This is exactly like the same setup in another tennis game, and it's the best one on the Amiga called Great Courts 2. This is the exact same setup. In fact, lots of this reminds me of Great Courts 2, except for the actual court part, which we'll get to. So once you select singles, doubles, you then you go back and it's time for you to pick what kind of guy you want. Now, when you go to the options, you get a list of guys from all these different countries, uh, and you've got a list of their stats that you can alter. Basically, you've got a certain amount of points you can spend. They're all spent when you find the guy you want, and you can take some stuff from one thing. You can basically cater your guy to meet your specifications. Now, I did this boat, and I didn't see. I cranked my speed up to max just to see what it would
Hmm.
look like. I wanted something
Hmm.
tangible, you know.
Right.
And I can't sit here and say with any certainty that it did much, but maybe it
Yeah.
did something, maybe it didn't.
Well, this is a perfect theater of the mind moment where you are
Ooh,
where you are you're rolling this character RPG style. And even though it doesn't make any difference to your player, just the fact that you're able to do this probably planted some sort of placebo effect into your mind saying, "Yeah, I probably did affect this or that."
yeah, I get. Well, I mean, yeah, I would. There you go. By the way, some of the folks in chat are saying you can skip the intro. I could not on my build skip that intro. Trust me, I tried every key. So once you go and set your character, by the way, that is also like Great Courts 2 in a certain way. That's pretty much how you set. So clearly, this guy had played Great Courts 2. That's my point here. Then we get to the actual tennis portion of the game. Now, you'll like if you just play in like a single match, you'll play a singles match. You'll play against a computer if you set it up that way. You come out. It's got full entrances for the guys, which are cute. They come out, and then the judge comes out, and the crowd boos him, which I thought was
Mhm.
funny. And then you look at the game. If you have a look at the game, now it's funny, Bo. When we played this on Amigathon, I remember thinking to myself, "Hey, this isn't bad." I was kind of looking forward to this. And so when the actual game started, man, was I disappointed. I remember I was thinking, what the heck is this? Because the court is takes up so little of the screen, it's so smushed and the guys are so tiny. It almost looks like I've seen a lot of people say this looks sort of like sensible tennis, right? I could see that description because I think those guys would do a better tennis game than this. But then you start playing the tennis. The great thing about a game like Great Courts 2 is that when you hit the ball, you can sort of guide your shot by holding the button and moving the joystick in certain directions and do lob stuff. I couldn't get any of that to work in this. Could you do anything with your shots aside from hit the shot? Like I couldn't get any action on this in terms of shot select, placement of shots. How did you fare?
See, I have a different take on this game totally.
Okay.
I really enjoyed my time with Micro Mortal Tennis. I thought this was great.
You're kidding
This is
me.
no, I think that this is I mean, I don't know that we've ever done Great Courts 2 on
We tried,
Amigos.
but I had the wrong name, and so we played something
Okay,
crappy. Yeah.
right. And so I don't think I've played that. But this beats the pants off that Lorcel game that we played that had
Well,
that Prince of Persia crap in it. And so this is a game that yeah, I agree. It's like if Sensible made a tennis game. The action is fast. You got your little characters. I felt that I could control my guy pretty well. I felt that I could guide my shots well. I thought, I could win games, it was something that I could not do very often on other Amiga tennis games that I've played. The thing that I don't like about this game is I found the serve mechanic to be inconsistent. I never quite figured out exactly what I'm supposed to be doing to make the serve not go out of bounds. I was able to do it sometimes, but I couldn't crack the code. Um, the we haven't talked about the micro or the mortal part and the mortal combat part of this game. You want to explain what happens there?
well, just an FYI, the serve in this is also Horked from Great Courts 2, except they do a better
Hmm.
job. I'll get back to that in a minute. Yeah, so occasionally, if with the computer player will have a call he doesn't like, and he'll go over, and the judge will come down off the stand, and they'll get into a fight, and then something will happen. The guy will turn into. I saw, I don't know, 4 or 5 different things they turned into. One time I saw him turn into like a Ken. One time and throw a fireball, and one time I saw him turn into Freddy Krueger and cut the judge, and one time I saw him turn into Raiden from Mortal Kombat and shove the judge. He has a bunch of
I
different gimmicks. What did you see?
that well, it happens with both players. If there's a close call that goes on against you, you will also do this as well.
I never had that
Uh,
happen to me. So, but I mean,
yeah,
my games
it
weren't that close.
but yeah, I only saw 3. There might be more. There is Raiden,
Yeah,
which you turn into. You don't look anything like Raiden, by
you
the
got the
way.
hat.
You look like you look like one of those Playmobil characters that has a conical shaped hat, and then you do your Lawrence of Arabia attack,
He says
and
Raiden. That's the only way you know for sure. He says
right.
Raiden. Yeah.
Right. And then you've got Ryo, like you said, you got Ryo with the fireball, and then inexplicably Freddy Krueger, which, I don't know. Has he made any appearances in Mortal Kombat games?
Not the. I mean, I don't know. I don't play the new one, so I don't know. If
Yeah.
maybe, but of course,
Yeah.
this was so old. No, is the
Right.
answer.
Right. So I don't know how he entered the picture, but anyway, that is the mortal part of the
Well, there's
Micro
also
Mortal
the in
Tennis.
between sets part that
Well, in
sometimes
between
people get
sets,
killed there. I
In
mean,
between sets, you've got there's sort of Amiga cameos that,
yeah,
that come out where you'll hear the "Let's go" from Lemmings, and a lemming will come out and explode. You've got Bomberman or Dynablaster Boy or whatever he was known as in Europe, that will come out and set off a bomb. So yeah, these are pleasant little things that break up the action. I actually thought they were kind of cute.
I saw Pac-Man come out. I saw a couple come out that I didn't recognize. So
Hmm.
there's more than a few of these. We're watching the video now. Here comes a hang glider. Just came out in
Hmm.
between sets. So there's several of these, and there. Don't get me wrong. There's a certain amount of style involved in this game, but the game itself, I was much less impressed with the tennis in this. Now, I'm gonna non-bury you because you may not have played Great Courts 2, of which this is horked a lot of the gimmicks from and much poorer. Great Courts 2, like this is an insult to Great Courts 2. Everything about it is an insult. This is a funny, I would call this a funny PD level game, maybe even lower than a lot of the PD we've played. Like the tennis in this, I just don't think is good. I mean, again, it's small, it's fast. Like for example, your guy will jump and dive for certain balls that are real hard to get. But I noticed after a while that if I stood in the right spot and I purposely dove for every ball, I would win every point that I dove for. The only times I lost is where I didn't get the dive right. You could just because the other guy often just won't return the ball if you dive for it. I'm sure that's put in there to make it look more exciting,
Hmm.
but that's still a problem. I couldn't get it to
Hmm.
work every time, but I could get it to work in huge chunks of games, and go down the line of that. The tournament thing, I mean, like I said, there's nothing here you wouldn't expect. Doubles is doubles. There's not a whole lot of Mortal Kombat-y stuff aside. I don't think I saw any other stuff except for what we're talking about. I thought maybe you'd get to kill a guy or something, or
Right.
I didn't
Right.
see any of that. You know, the plot again. I think there's something lost in the translation a little bit, but I mean, I will say it's a plot for a tennis game, so I'll give them that. Yes,
Hmm.
it's better than that Laura Cell game we played. Oh God, yes. That game was horrible. It was an uncontrollable mess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, I will say. I mean, is this the worst tennis I've ever played? No, but I just didn't. I think the court is too small. The guys are too small, and I didn't have the control I wanted over the shots. Plus, with the serving mechanic in Great Courts 2, you can use that serving mechanic to get aces. Like it's much
Hmm.
more well done. I also noticed that one thing about tennis is if you set in the on the mid court line, that's the kiss of death in real tennis. You never want to stay there because
Hmm.
they'll kill you. In this game, you can kind of camp that line, but one thing you
Hmm.
don't ever want to do is charge the net. I didn't have any luck charging the net, and that's something I like to do in most games, and I like to do in real life. I'll get in there just as because I'm so huge, I'm blocking out the sun with my racket up in the air, and so in
Right.
gaming, I kind of copy my own style. But I didn't like the mechanics of where the shots. Sometimes your guy will dive and like you've got no shot at it, and the ball's behind you, but you'll still hit it. That drove me
Mm-hmm.
nuts. I mean, so you
Yeah.
basically you can make the impossible shots. Even, I mean,
Right.
you can be
Right. But
nowhere
see, here's the
close.
thing. Uh, I would rather it be that way than, I mean, to me, I would rather a game err on the side of being too easy than too difficult. And so there were times where I was like, boy, I really pulled a rabbit out of a hat with that. But I'd much rather have that and have that success. Because again, this is one of the few tennis games that I've played on the Amiga where I was consistently able to win games. And that means a lot to me.
Well, I mean, listen. I understand. I'm not bad mouthing that. I'm just saying, it's a tennis game. I thought this was a weak effort. That saying it's better than the other Amiga tennis games we've played, which is true. That's low praise, my friend. I mean, this is like, I mean, remember when David Crane did an Activision tennis on the
Mm-hmm.
Atari? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would put this game in the. I mean, this game in terms of mechanically is probably somewhere in that ballpark. And we know David Crane's a super genius, but I mean, this is the Amiga, for God's sakes. Now, I know this is sort of a little late title in the game, but I just uh listen, it's 96 or 99 respectively. If this was a free game or even like a budget game that had a cute gimmick, because we've seen tons of those budget games, but they strap a wacky gimmick on it and it's fun because you pay nothing for it. I don't know what this sold for, but I'm guessing it sold for more than a budget title. And
I
I
think
think
that
that's
this might have made an appearance on a cover disc at some point or something.
well, it's funny. I
Um,
looked into that actually,
mhm.
Boatster. So they've got a little blurb on Hall of Light about it here. It says here that there was a demo on the CU Amiga cover disc number 143, August of '96, and they were angling to get worldwide distribution because I thought this was going to be a big deal, but they couldn't get any action until '99. So they tried to go the cover disc route, and it didn't work for them. I mean, I guess it did work. It just took years. Years
Mhm.
later it worked. Um, any final thoughts on this before we hit the reviews? I mean, I don't. There's not much to say
Yeah, I
about it.
mean, I just the only this is just one of those things that we've got different takes on because you're completely burying this game, and I think that this is a solid game.
Well, you've got to understand something. It's not a complete burial. Okay, I'm not giving this thing the top banana treatment. I'm just saying it's the Amiga, and this is. I mean, if you look at this thing in a
That's
vacuum,
it, but I mean, it's like saying Sensible Soccer is a bad game because all the characters are smushed
no,
and
Sensible
the
Soccer is a
screen's real
good
small.
game because they put in the legwork. This the not. This is just a real super basic low level tennis game. Just because it's better than other crappy games, I'm not gonna put it over. I just refuse. Plus, I've played better tennis games on the Amiga than this. And I don't like it. This is a crappier version of a game that's 10 times better. That's just
There we
me.
go.
Well, that much said, believe it or not, I'm in the minority. The people at Lemon gave this a 7.21, and I found some reviews. These are all from Italy, as they say, or France. The Games Machine out of Italy gave this thing a 92. They put it over like
Mhm.
$1,000,000.
Yeah.
There's a magazine that's simply known as K, spelled K. They gave it an
Mm.
88 vote. And Amiga Future, our good buddies, we like Amiga Future. They give this thing a 50. I think I'm more in line with the future is now. They gave it this thing a 50%. Did you get any sweet action from the Discord?
Yeah, we did. We got a couple of reviews on this week's game. Our first review and our only review, actually, I must have been thinking about something else. We got a review from Ben's. Ben says, when I booted this game for the first time and saw it was published in 1996, my old brain immediately thought, oh, this is new. My inability to understand that time has moved on since the late 90s aside, this game's a lot of fun.
I have that problem.
I've always enjoyed a good tennis game, and this one's pretty good. If you've ever wondered what a tennis game made by the Sensible Soccer team would be like, this is it. It's fast and furious with players able to get in position, hold the button, and then release at just the right time. Pressing the button makes your character plant their feet, a bit like Pro Tennis Tour 2, so you need to be confident you're in the right place before committing. There are the usual single match, tournament, and season options, the latter of which can be saved. Something that shows the age of the game is the rather clumsy suicide message that appears when you lose, not something you'd see in a game these days. I wasn't clear what the Mortal Kombat influence would be. I'd imagine fighting other players to settle a tiebreak or smashing the ball so hard my opponents into my opponent that their spine flew out.
Yeah.
Sadly, none of this came to pass.
Oh,
Instead, what we get is the occasional disputed line call, resulting in the player morphing into a different character and leaving the umpire in a red puddle on the ground. Happily, after this little animation, the umpire magically resurrects himself and retakes his seat. It's goofy but fun, at least the first couple times you see it. In between games, other fun things happen. For example, sometimes a hang glider sails across the court, or Robocop stomps in and exacts his revenge on the umpire. Again, goofy but fun. It reminded me of the little animations in the background of International Karate Plus. Ultimately, the Mortal Kombat stuff gets a little tedious, and once you've seen all the animations, you'll find yourself skipping them to get back to the action. A solid tennis game that doesn't take itself too seriously, 8 out of 10.
oof. High praise. That's high praise. You know, one of the things I did find wacky about this is when you score a particularly solid point, the crowd will cheer for you, and it sounds like you're like the set of Mr. Cartoon. They're all like they sound like a bunch of kids. Did you notice that? It's like why are these children out here watching all this carnage at this?
Maybe that was just that was the sample that there is like crowd cheering sample. Let's put that in.
We should also mention that Fart stays at courtside at all times, so don't worry.
That's right,
Fart's always around. This game was a fart, as far as I'm concerned. I shall go back, and I really do want you to try Great Courts 2 sometime, Boat, so you can see what a game that's like this, but they did everything right is like. Because I think you'd really enjoy it, Boatster.
Okay. All right, Aaron, why don't we check out what's going on our YouTube channel?
All right. Oh, I should mention no eBay on this. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. So, we had some releases this week, Boatster. Let's get into this one, man. You did a lot of work on this episode, and I thought it was really interesting. And that's our retrospective look at Buggy Boy on the ST boat. We did a little comparison on here because luckily me and Boat had played Buggy Boy on the Amiga, I believe it was, and so we had some reference to that. What did you think of this one, Boat?
Well, Buggy Boy is a real interesting arcade game. This is one that I completely passed me by as a kid, and even when I started getting into the classic arcade scene when I was in late high school and college, and it's a lot of its charm comes from the fact that it was originally sold in that 3-panel wide, ultra wide monitor setup. But it's I always enjoy a good driving game versus a racing game. I've always been more of an outrun fan than a pole position fan, and this game is definitely more in that outrun phase where you're not racing against other cars, you're trying to collect flags and make it to checkpoints. The off-road elements of this game are fun, and the ST version is solid, and the Amiga version also solid. So no matter which 16-bit platform you play it on, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good game. The Amiga one plays a little quicker. But they're both fun, cartoony games. I know they're right up your alley. I wasn't a super big fan of them, but I thought they were okay. But I know, then again, like I said, we have no frame of references because we never saw this in the arcades in America that I ever saw. Someone might have seen it at their arcade, but this is one we didn't have. So we had a good time fooling with that one, Boaster. The next thing, now this is all Boat right here. Tell us about this one, Boat. This is Oops Up versus Pang, Amiga Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, so this is a part of the Attack of the Clones series where I take a look at an arcade title and then look to see what the Amiga had to offer in terms of, in this case, Pang got a really, really solid release on the Amiga. Arguably the best arcade port ever to be released on the Amiga is Pang. It's just so dead on to the arcade version. But that's not all. There is an homage to Pang called Oops Up that is a much more sci-fi like game where you're playing as in outer space, and so I take a look at Oops Up and talk about whether it's the good, the bad, and the indifferent of this loving homage to Pang.
Very good. You need to carry this series over the Coco, my friend. Holy smokes!
Oh yeah,
you did material for 1,000 shows over there.
That's right.
So that looks great, but well done, man. So me and the Brent got back to business this week, and this time out, as requested by gosh, who was it? I think it was either Kit may have been the one to request this. We skipped the Apricot, you'll recall, last week because we couldn't get an emulator for the Apricot that worked very well. So, boy, were we in for a shock when we tried to emulate the new one, Boat, because the emulator for this is as remedial as an emulator as I've played in a long time. The new one was a chipset that was installed in certain DVD players and would allow them to play one of 8 commercially released games, although only 7 were released any place you could play them. There was one Korean exclusive, and these things were also all region locked. They did everything they could to botch this thing. These were the new one was the chipset was worked on by former Atari Jag engineers and programmers. So
he carried the Jaguar's legacy of success into the CD era.
Yeah, this is sort of a sad
the DVD era. I mean.
It's a sad tale in a lot of ways. But anyways, we get into it pretty hot and heavy.
My favorite part about this episode is the phrase that Brent came up with to describe the American bedroom coder scene.
Oh,
he called it like basement manufacturing corporation or something like that. It was great. I loved it.
It sounded like he said, it sounded like somebody making meth.
Which is true.
The UK gets bedroom coders. We get basement manufacturers. So we tried 2 games. There were 8, like I said, there were 8 commercial games. I could only get 1 to sort of run, so I did Space Invaders XL, which was the only machine that was ever released for. And Brent did a game called Decaying Orbit. It was a PD game. So there you go. So if you want to learn about the new one.
I wonder what the PDC, how many public domain games were released for the old new on?
I don't know. Well, a lot, because believe it or not to get too much into the episode, but towards the end of, like, I think it was like 2001, the guys were like, we better do something here. This thing's tanking. So they released the SDK for free. You could go out and develop on it. And so people did. I mean, believe it or not. So, but again, your mileage may vary. There's software out there for it. You can see right here, this is where the emulator crashed if you're watching at home. But yeah, this is one. I would just watch the episode. I don't necessarily think you need to go out and buy a new one. Although, the next time you're at the Goodwill, just look and see if the little new one logo's on there. And if it is, you can make yourself a couple $100 easy way, because these things go for about that. I think that's all we've got on our main channel, Boat. But let's hop over to the stream team. We're getting this thing fired back up, Boat. Had a couple big releases this week. Firstly, there's a special fellow. He's called Happy Coding. He just happens to be a ZX Spectrum megastar when it comes to programming. And this is his show, Happy Coding's ZX Programming Stream Home Cooking. This is the July 14th episode.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Bo. You can watch a little bit of a coding tutorial. These are beautiful. Awesome. These are beautiful free ZX game programming tutorials that you can watch to up your game. Me and Bo sat through one of these things at the last International Computer Club, and by God, I learned stuff. And I don't know jack squat about programming. I got it. So Happy is he's good at talking down to the lowest common denominator, which is me. So if you want to try to learn a few things about some ZX Spectrum programming, this is your man. Happy Coding's ZX Programming Stream. And also, these are, like I said, this is sort of a weekly thing. So if you can go back and start at the beginning and you can watch them all and get caught up. Also released this week, we've got a good buddy named 48K Ram. And this time out, Boat, look what he's doing. He's recapping an Atari ST.
He's recapping my Atari
ST. That's your look. I thought you would enjoy this, Boat. This is 48K Ram recapping the ST that ultimately Boat ended up with, right, Boat?
That's right. So sitting across from me in pride of place, or right above the Amiga 600, is an Atari 520 ST that I'm very interested to see if the disk drive is working. I think David Z may be sending me a couple discs to try it out on. I've never used an ST before. I never knew anybody that had an Atari ST. This is a brand new chapter in my retro computing life, and it's cool. I know that it's going to be solid gold money because 48K is he knows what's going on when he's streaming from the bench.
Absolutely, I know there was a Sprite Castle this week. Rob's had some medical things going on in his family. He's running a little bit behind. I'm sure it'll pop up here. But if you didn't catch last week's show and tell, I thought that was particularly amusing. Good episode to catch. And of course, don't forget to check out Rob's shows Fright Castle, and You Don't Know Flack, and Cactus Flack's Arcade, which you just cranked back up. All those were great this month. I highly endorse them. And also, over on Pixel Games channel, they actually released a new video. They're another one of the podcasts on our podcast streams. We love the Pixel Gaiden guys. Just finished up their show, so please check them out and check out their channel as well. Bo, one more thing while we're talking about stuff. It's tomorrow night, Bo. You want to fill in the folks on what's going down tomorrow night at the boat estate?
Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. It is our sort of bi-monthly meeting of the International Computer Club. Or not the International Computer Club, the Taze Valley Classic Computer Club.
Can you believe the scene I pulled up here? That was not on purpose. I just hit play. It's my GS exploding at the last International Computer Club.
Yeah. So if you want to see scenes such as computers explode before your very eyes, then check us out on Twitch. We're going to be live. Like I said, we're going to be broadcasting starting at 6 o'clock. John Marshall will bring his usual tote of Commodore goodness. What do you plan on bringing to the
I'm not 100% sure. You know, I need to put a fuse in that GS. I've recapped it, but I forgot to replace the fuse in it. So if I can find one, I might bring that. It's always a good time. Now, Bo, while we're talking about the Taze Valley Computer Club, what time are we going to kick that off again tomorrow?
We're going to kick it off at 6 o'clock.
6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is, now, do you want to talk about the new naming nomenclature that I missed? I don't think I missed you talking about that.
The Taze Valley Classic Computer Club will still, I mean, it's still going to be the same thing.
Right.
But we're rechristening it the West Virginia Vintage Computer Society.
Oh, man.
Because we have formed a new organization that basically will hopefully allow more people to find out about our group. And we're going to try and have some more events in addition to Boat Fest, maybe a winter event. Where we'll try and gather some people together. And so the West Virginia Vintage Computer Society, a nonprofit society of people that are into vintage computers that either reside in the Mountain State or wish they did.
Yeah, there you go.
You can find out more information at wvvsc.org.
Very good, bud.
And of course, we're going to be premiering, Aaron. Well, maybe not premiering.
Oh,
yeah.
We're going
to be premiering a new game that has just been released for the Tandy color computer called, well, give us the name of this one, Aaron.
It's, well, the official name, let me get because there's Japanese.
The envelope,
involved.
Please.
The name's not on here, but I'll look. This is a game for the Coco that features myself and the boat. We're in the game. Space Pirate Kamiko.
There you go.
Holy smokes, boat. Let me tell you something. How did we get into a game with incredibly hot anime vixens? I don't know how that happened, but we're in there, boat, somehow. Yeah. So that'll be fun for us. You can see there's a incredibly hot anime vixen right there on the cover. I haven't opened this yet because I'm going to open this live on stream tomorrow night. We're going to fire up. I believe there's an SD card in here, boat. We're going to fire. Have you opened yours yet?
I have. I've opened it up.
What was it? Would you have an SD card in yours?
No, he only sent out one SD card. That was for you.
Oh, good. That's what you get.
But I did. I don't want to give away the surprise.
Yeah,
we'll open it at Computer Club tomorrow.
We're going to open this thing up. We're going to stick it into Coco, right? And then we're going to give this thing a whirl. It's going to be awesome. By the way, he's nervous. He told me he's very nervous about this unveiling. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, Bode.
All right. So, Aaron, the time has come for us to leave the stream team and move on to the Patreon song challenge from what seems to be several years ago now.
Yeah, it does.
The last Patreon song challenge, nobody got correct because I don't think anybody cared. It sort of has led me to believe how much longer the Patreon song challenge will last. However, the name of the song was "Into the Great Wide Open" by Tom Petty.
Yeah, I knew that one. That one I knew.
We do have a new Patreon song this week, and I figured we had such a long intro that sort of eternal introduction to Mikro Mortal Tennis. Instead of looking at my ugly mug as I performed the song, I laid down the tracks and performed the song, and is going to be supplied to you via the Mikro Mortal Tennis intro sequence. So,
oh god,
If you know the name of this song, send me an email, john@amigospodcast.com, and I will. Farman.
That's a scary Satan right there, Boat, at the end of your song. He's got a lot of face bulge going on, too. That
Well,
big guy.
listen, if I was Satan, I'd have face bulge out the yin yang.
If he listened to your song, he's probably bulging all over the place.
So, we are going to move on now, Aaron, to
probably a good idea.
What's coming up next week.
Here we go.
What?
Oh, man, it's back again, Boat.
That's right. Public Domania.
Oh, man.
We are going to be playing Aztec Challenge.
Oh, okay.
And some galactic civilization conquest something. I can't quite remember the second game. But it's going to be epic. It's an epic tale of wonderment.
You know, now Aztec Challenge, isn't that like a C64 game? Maybe it's probably like
ported
it over.
It's a C64 game that was ported over.
Oh,
That's
sweet.
Right.
I've played that before. Sweet.
Colonial Conquest 2. I knew Level Lord would be a fan. Anything that's deep and intimidating, Level Lord's all over.
Oh man, is that what that one is? PD deepness. That's always scary to me, Boat.
Yes, absolutely. So, join us, won't you? Next Friday, we're going to be recording a little bit later on because I'll be at band camp next week. Middle school band camp. Oh yeah. So, please join us for Public Domania next Friday, 7 p.m. We will see you next time, and until then,
adios.
Invader, but Dr. 82, Pack Billy, Rog, McDavid, Howard Price, Jazz Dog Daniel, James Miller, Art Typer, Bumface, Prue, Hans, Chris Edwards, Petzl, Alarm, Albert, Kemp, we like what we like, Mr. Chip, Peter Price, Herman V, Wanderly, Chesham, Mark Richardson, Dave.